Hey, folks, I'm Scott Miller, and this is my buddy and partner, Greg Fink.
How you
We're the
doing?
Political Matrix News.
Yes, it's been one weird week.
It has been a weird week, and it just keeps getting weirder.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to continue to get weirder before it gets better.
It is August 20th of 2025, and the president's administration is just in, January 20th, January, February, 6, 7 months? I guess he's already been part of several peace deals all around the world. Nobody's talking about a Nobel Peace Prize yet. Though Obama got one just for being elected.
Oh, I don't know. A whole bunch of Tibetan monks are trying to lobby to get Trump awarded the Peace Prize.
Really?
Because he's been in office for 6 or 7 months, like you said, and he has gotten directly involved in 6 or 7 conflicts and ended all but one of them. That's the Ukrainian one.
Yeah. The Ukrainian one and the Russian one, I think, is probably going to go on longer than this presidency. The next one and the next one, the next one's going to be. And same thing with Israel and Gaza. That's going to be going on to the end of our lifetimes, most likely. It's been happening for a few thousand years.
I don't think that the Ukrainian one's going to last that long because Trump hates fighting. He just hates.
Well, he does.
He wants to work deals, but you get to a limit with him, and I mean, is he going to directly attack Russia? But will he go ahead and start doling out tariffs to people that trade with Russia?
I mean, I don't think he's going to do the Moab on Afghanistan. I don't think he's going to repeat that like he did when he ended the caliphate. Although it worked.
It worked.
I don't think bombing Russia would be a good idea or at all.
It's not like bombing, I don't know, North Korea.
Well, basically, all you're doing is hurting a whole bunch of people in famine unless you just attack the military areas directly.
Well, that joker over the weekend was talking about how America is just trying to be provocative, and they're going to have to rapidly expand their military to defend them against American aggression. And I'm like, the dang American Coast Guard could take out,
Right. Well, I think a lot of people realize. I mean, I was listening to this news guy, Eric Erickson, who's a regular conservative talk show host. And he's actually, when I just moved over here to Palm Coast, we have different radio personalities I'm used to. So I never had heard his show before. But he made a very good point that Trump is really good at, finding a way for peace. And it's very ironic that all these people who were protesting war are now the warmongers. Now,
right?
30, 40 years later, they're the ones who are wanting war and wanting to fight and wanting to hurt everybody. And it's just very, very bizarre.
Well, now, see, I'm kind of getting an understanding or, a sense of how this works, though, because, in my mind, most of these people are damaged in some way. They were traumatized in some way, or at the very least, they had parents who were damaged or traumatized in some way that passed it on to them. And they on one hand want to defend people, to be the heroes, but on the other hand, they want, they expect you to listen to what they're saying. If not, they're willing to do whatever it takes to enforce you listening to whatever they say.
It's kind of like a principal with a gun instead of a principal with a ruler. Back in the day of corporal punishment, which I think they're actually bringing back now in some areas of the country, and actually they are in Florida as well. But it's like having a principal on crack who just wants to shoot everybody. Either listen to me or die. And it takes away the whole freedom of speech thing, which actually came out today with the school board here in Florida with the Alachua County superintendent, who said that comment she Facebooked something about Hulk Hogan dying and basically saying one less MAGA to worry about. And she apologized for it and everything, but I guess the entire school board of Alachua County has to go through some sort of counseling, on First Amendment counseling, and realizing that people have a right to respond and not to be silenced in the school system, and teachers and parents as well have the right to respond, and you're not supposed to silence them. And so basically, and if they do continue to silence people in the school system in Alachua County, they're going to start withholding their salaries of the school board members, which I think is very interesting. that they actually, you know, they're going right for the purse strings. I mean, basically,
Absolutely.
the whole idea is to enforce free speech and
Hmm.
free, you know, the free marketplace of ideas, as they always say in college and everything. That's what America is built upon. That's what Trump, I mean, like Trump or not, I talked to a lot of people today, and they cannot stand Trump, but they said that he is definitely stirring the pot of conversation, and he's getting everybody talking and to the table. And that's one thing that guy Eric Erickson and a lot of other talk show hosts were talking about, is that nobody else has brought people to the table like Trump has. Nobody.
Well, and then we have people like Gavin Newsom, being all pretty and trying to pretend like,
Uh,
everyone wants to be California. I just left California. I got back from California last night at 11 o'clock. And let me tell you something. It is, for all their protestations, they are worse than people are leading you to believe. Besides the fact that gas is twice as expensive entirely because of their government action. I was
traffic.
talking about a construction project out there, and this guy that had pulled a permit for his own home, and I'm not talking about a mansion. I'm talking about a regular, like working class home. And the permit price for his small working class home was $40,000. That's what I paid.
$40,000.
I recently just pulled permits for an 84 unit apartment complex in Bay County, Florida, and the permit price was $42,000
That was a $16 million project.
for a $16 million project. Exactly. I mean, and I
Wow.
guarantee you, this boy isn't paying $16 million for his house. He probably built a 200, maybe a low $300,000 house.
What about the whole idea that whenever you have a high volume of people, the prices go down, like Walmart or Costco?
You mean like economies of scale?
Yeah, exactly. Like economies of scale. I mean, there are lots of people in California. In fact, it's the largest state in the union by population. So why in the hell are they charging so? And why are they out of money? Why are they
Why
out of
the
money
hell?
if they're charging that much to that many people?
It cost me, I want to say $275 to register my truck. This same guy told me it cost him $420 to register his truck.
Well, I
And he
think
said that the registration fees in California are so onerous that there's a lot of people that go, because of the way their laws are configured for vehicles, because like the tag is registered to the vehicle, not the person. There are a ton of people that are driving around with tags that look okay, and until a cop decides to run them, they don't know if they're good or not. And from what I understand, not just from the two that I was talking to, but multiple people that I talked to in California, it is not remotely uncommon for people to run around with unregistered vehicles, uninsured vehicles.
they said to transfer your driver's license to California from another state is around over $1,000. Just to
And now
transfer
you
your
understand.
driver's license.
I mean, when these government fees are so punitive, isn't any surprise that people are just flaunting the law? Because on top of that, the penalties, when I asked them what the penalties for being caught with a out-of-date registration were, they said, I don't know, $50, something like that. So the laws are so poorly, the fees are so onerous and the laws are so poorly constructed. It's no wonder they're not. There's so many people just flaunting the law there. And the fact of the matter is that people have little to no consequence for it. And it kind of misrepresents, California's state of being, when people are not only not complying with the law, but they're kind of making noncompliance such a subtle thing that it's not really accurately tracked either.
Right, and that actually comes down to the next topic here about all the gerrymandering and all the immigrations, and how the whole idea of these legal immigrants, you know, they actually do affect the scale of life and scale of dollars and where they go. I mean, people don't really understand. I get it, because the whole idea of having civics in your classroom or remembering civics is non-existent nearly. I mean, people don't realize that, you know, your entire scale of your community and your infrastructure for your community is all dictated by census. It's all dictated by how many people are using the roads, using the water, using the power lines. I mean, basically, actually, how many hospital beds you have in an area is dictated by how many people live in that zip code. because there cannot be more than a certain amount of beds and within a square mile area for a competitive hospital to be near. And so they
Yeah,
have to
there are a lot.
I mean, it all is dictated by that.
Yeah, especially where hospitals are concerned. I think most states have require a certificate of need
Correct.
for a hospital,
Exactly.
which I'm completely opposed to begin with. I don't know why they require these things. All they are is a barrier to make it so they can limit the number of people who open hospitals.
Right, but it is a reality, though.
It is a reality. I think they ought to change it, though. I mean,
Yeah, it
if a
should.
hospital wants to have a business and they can comply with the standards, the accepted standards for a facility, having the government dictate whether or not you can open your business is simply ridiculous.
Right. But the whole idea here, though, is the census controls a lot of this stuff
And the census
and
controls that.
data. And so whenever you start counting people who are not able to be counted for just flaunting the law, I mean, I do plasma every now and then. I was in Atlanta at plasma last week, and there's a Cuban guy next to me, and we're all talking about the illegal immigrants being. And he said he's lost around 5 or 10 friends that he kept telling to go do your paperwork for 10 years, 15 years, and they said, "Oh, they'll never catch me. They'll never do anything wrong." They get busted for a DUI, or they get busted drinking and driving, or tailgate or tail light or anything like that. And he said that's the way the cookie crumbles. I mean, he's like, he kept telling them, go get your paperwork done. There's charities that will pay for it. Okay, people don't realize this. There are lots of charities, the same ones who will sanctuary you. It will put you in a church. The same places have facilities that will pay the $8,000 or $10,000 it takes to go through the entire process of becoming an American citizen. There's lots of money out there for that if you really want to do it. You just got to do it. And he said a lot of them didn't want to do it because they had stuff in their background. And that's the reason why they didn't want to become legal, is because they didn't want their background from their previous country to come up.
Yep.
Hey, we actually have a friend who ran for school board over here, and he is actually a school board member who came here from Canada, and he has actually outchased the people in Mexico to the Mexican border, and he is from Cuba and everything, and he was in the Cuban prisons in the past. Robert Alvaro is his name.
Right, but you said Canada. You meant
Yeah, I
Cuba.
misspoke. Sorry, I mean the Mexican border, and he's Cuban, and so he actually went and got to the border. He was being chased by the cartel and the Mexican military at the time, but he got here and he landed on American soil and everything. So he's been here ever since. That was probably like 25 years ago. But he has a background of being in different prisons and everything else in Mexico and in Cuba. But he was not afraid of that because he was a political prisoner. And so, and so it really has to do with what you did and understanding that just because you had a checkered past doesn't mean that all bets are off. It just means that you got to be truthful about it and come to grips with it and go from there. But you cannot keep running away. And that's the reason why the people in California, I mean, the laws there, I mean, everything's so flippant because nobody gives a damn. Nobody's enforcing anything. None of it's enforced.
Well, you see, the thing is that they have to make enforcement lax, because otherwise then they start getting a disproportionate enforcement against minorities.
Yeah, a stigma.
Yeah, well, the thing is that the reason it's disproportionate, it's like, why are the cops always patrolling the minority neighborhoods? Well, why do criminals rob banks? Because that's where they keep the money.
The cops are where the crimes are.
The cops are where the crimes are. They're not hanging out in they're not hanging out in Compton because for the soul food.
No.
They're there because they get frequent calls for service and they have to.
Right. But it looks like I guess Texas is going to be redone. Back to we got sidetracked there on the gerrymandering. It looks like Texas approved the mid-decade redistricting, which I guess if people don't realize it, it's very rare. I mean, it never happens mid-decade. It always usually happens at the beginning of the decade. And so my question is that in 5 years, are they going to do it again? Because it actually is a costly process.
I don't know. You know, it's a good question whether or not they redistrict. The real question is when are they going to recount?
Exactly.
Because I mean, now are they going to be
They
stuck
kind of have
on
to.
counting every on the on the fifth year of every decade or what? I mean, if they count now because they can't wait 15 years to do it again. If they do it again, it has to be in no more than 10 years. So they'd
Right.
have to do it in 35 or do it in 30 so they could get back on the every 10 years on the decade mile marks.
Right. And after Texas has approved it now, and the courts approved it for them to go ahead with it, next, I guess, is California and Florida. I don't think New York will ever do it.
I don't know that Florida really needs to do it because I mean we're pretty well.
We have a lot of illegals here as well.
Well, now once you remove illegals, I mean, since they have, I mean, I don't. You know, the real truth is, Greg, I think that there's a very real possibility that when they take the illegals out of Florida and Texas, that Florida and Texas may lose some representation.
Well, they said Florida would actually pick up 3 seats, and Texas will lose 2.
If Florida ran out all the illegal, well, yeah, Florida it doesn't have, quite the same path for illegals. I mean, Texas has plenty.
Yeah, we have a lot of them in South Florida because of our proximity to Haiti and Dominican Republic and Cuba and all those other islands in the Caribbean and everything. So we have a lot more proximity to those. Although a lot of them are Republican, and a lot of them are also Democrat. And actually, a strong number of them are nonpartisan. And so you'll get rid of a lot of the MPAs that are ballooning here in Florida. I mean, that's the fastest growing party in Florida is the MPA.
Well, the concern obviously is that they have, you know, that the you artificially increase the population of the state relative to the other states, so you get a disproportional amount of representation. In Texas and Florida, that kind of benefits the Republicans. In in the all the left field count states and stuff up in the world, the Michigans, the Illinois, the Minnesotas, and stuff like that have declared themselves sanctuary cities. Well, I guess that's where we're going to get our additional representatives from. And Texas may not be as bad off as you think, but maybe, who knows?
I mean, I think we're going to show a picture here real quick that you sent me of Chicago, where Democrats also heavily gerrymandered.
Right, and so that picture is where they literally ran to escape the possibility of having a gerrymander Texas. They literally ran to a district that is, I mean, that is what a bizarre shape for a district. How do you justify that? I mean, how do you start to justify it? It's like a big C that circles the city, and they did it so that they could concentrate the voters inside the deep city, and then they went around to go get other voters so they could have the perimeter be a second district. Because otherwise, if that's not what they were trying to do, they'd have just split the city in half. You'd have two O's or two like a D and I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it would be a two semi.
Yeah. I mean, the way the whole gerrymandering works, and now, granted, a lot of Republicans in the Democrat states are freaking out. They're like, hey, this can go both ways. I mean, Republicans, of course, will redraw the districts to favor Republicans because that's naturally what you do, whether it's right or wrong. But Democrats are not going to follow the rules.
Well, gerrymandering isn't strictly a Democrat thing. I mean, but both parties do it, although I've seen a lot more Democrats do it than Republicans, but Republicans do it. I mean, I think the top, 6 top gerrymandered districts in America are, Florida's 5th, Maryland's 3rd, Illinois' 4th, and North Carolina's 4th and 13, and Pennsylvania's 7th. So there's plenty of very gerrymandered places in there.
It's one interesting though. On that list, there's nothing in California.
That is very well. I don't know what the deal is with California, and I don't know what to believe about California.
Yeah,
Arnold Schwarzenegger was talking over the weekend about how he objected to Newsom, getting rid of the nonpartisan redistricting commission system that he set up, but My experience with everything that's nonpartisan is it seems to be heavily favored by Democrats.
It usually is. I mean, most of the nonpartisan things do swing to the left.
That's my experience. I mean,
Yeah.
I
No,
can't
you can
say that
prove
it's
us wrong.
always that way, but every time, but most of the things I've seen ultimately turn out that
Like to
way.
say, the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding tastes like it's always going to the left. Now, I mean, it doesn't really. Most nonpartisan things don't really swing neutral like they should, as their name dictates.
And before people start going off the handle and and rendering their opinions, I'm not going to say that my opinion is more important than yours, but Greg and my opinions are certainly more experienced than
Yes.
99% of the people who are going to comment negatively about this.
We've had a lot of candidates who are actually Democrat candidates who switched to MPA because they knew they couldn't run a Democrat primary and win, but they thought for some concept that they could actually win as an MPA, which just hardly ever happens in a partisan race. It just does not happen. And if you want to try, go ahead, waste your time. But the thing is that Republicans don't do that. Republicans don't go MPA. Democrats will, and they'll taint the MPA pool of people because that's just the way they swing.
Yeah, but you know what? The in my experience, the Democrats that go NPA tend to be the more conservative
They
Democrats.
are, yeah. They're not the liberal ones. The liberal ones hang on to the Democrat cloth like it's the holy grail.
Well, it's yeah. For them, it's a weapon. They want to be on the team that's going to support their fight.
Right. Like we have this here new young guy here. Where is he at? In Broward County running for state rep for state senate. He's like only 20 years old and he raised $100,000 first month. But he has a political PAC that he has a PC for in Florida. He's raised 1.3 million in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a interesting guy. But he's trying to be the youngest elected official in Tallahassee, or the second youngest, I guess, if he gets elected. And it's interesting. I mean, because he's hanging on to that as the whole power that the Democrat Party is going to raise money and put money in his seat. And there's 2 or 3 Republicans in that seat who are going to try to flip it. And so we'll see how it works out.
I'm going to be very interested this cycle to see how the Democrats' fundraising goes, given the fact that Trump has put an end to most of these NGOs.
Yeah, well, they're just using under 527s to funnel it through the way. A lot of Democrats are actually acting like Republicans now and just doing it the proper way.
Well, yeah, but the
Maybe.
thing is that these NGOs were getting federal government grants.
Why no? They were being federally funded to do campaign work, which is campaign operatives. That would be a dream. I would love for
My
a federal
God,
grant to give us some freaking money to do a campaign. Honestly, that would be freaking awesome.
that
It
would be
would be.
awesome. But that's not how. But that ain't how it works.
No,
The federal government is not supposed to be supplying the Democrats with campaign resources.
Anybody, Democrats. I mean, it's ridiculous how they're doing it.
Democrats or Republican. I mean,
obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. I mean, now,
but the Democrats are the only ones getting the benefit from it.
Yeah, Republicans had their day with Tom DeLay and Abramoff. That was like 15, 20 years ago. We learned from that, and we stopped it. And but I mean, this whole Stacey Abrams thing and all those other groups that the EPA was giving like 20, 30 billion dollars out to different groups just for doing nothing, for just political paybacks. I mean, and basically they were funneling it to other campaigns or other PACs and this and that and everywhere else, and it's just it's sad. And I mean, we even have a congresswoman in South Florida. I forgot her name, but she's Sheila Nichols or whatever. She's in like Broward County as well. She's a congresswoman who actually wrote she did some work for COVID or something. I guess she added a 0 onto the invoice, or maybe a couple zeros onto it, and so she has to pay like a several $1 million fine, but she's still running for Congress.
And she'll probably win.
And she will possibly win. I mean, she has, if she runs, she hasn't filed yet.
Well, fair.
Actually, no, she did file. She just hasn't raised any money yet.
Mm-hmm.
But, who knows? She probably doesn't need the money. She probably has a lot of it stored up in her, kettle pot somewhere. And, yeah, who knows? But Politics are very interesting. It has been one weird week. I mean, we've seen the Trump show, very big spectacle over in Russia, and because our last show was the day before the Russia thing. So that happened like a big air balloon. Like, there are going to be consequences, severe consequences if I have a ceasefire. There's no ceasefire and there's no severe consequences. Okay.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Well, we don't know that yet. We don't know any of what's in his head at the moment. Then he meets with Zelensky on Monday, and Marco Rubio and those guys are working on some sort of a plan to where I guess we are going to be supplying weapons now for Ukraine.
That's the and that would be a consequence because before when Trump was supplying weapons to him, we had pretty heavy restrictions on him, and right there for a short time, they had weapons and clearance to shoot the damn things, all the way to Moscow if they wanted to.
I think now we're going to be actually training them though as well, so I think that might be.
Well, there are some weapon systems that we have to train them for because otherwise American soldiers will have to do the firing.
Right, we don't want that.
And we don't want that because that is basically America attacking Russia.
Yeah, but it also looks like Mike Waltz, the NSA advisor, is going to be transferred now to the UN for the ambassador to the UN. So that's a new thing that happened today, I think. And so there's been a few shifts and everything in foreign policy going on.
Didn't we have who did we have doing that?
I think Tammy Bruce got moved over to his deputy ambassador.
There we go.
So Tammy Bruce is going to be with Mike Waltz. They're going to be handling the UN.
Right, that's why it was ringing a bell for me.
Yeah, I always thought it was interesting that Tammy Bruce was working with the Marco Rubio team because Marco Rubio has the same team he has had from Tallahassee, and he doesn't really like outsiders. I mean, he has a very close-knit group that he has been advising with from 1998 to now. I mean, people don't realize, whenever Rubio got to the Florida House in the late 90s, then he became Speaker of the House. He's carried everybody with him. People don't realize that. It's not like he just goes out and takes all the new staff. He's very loyal to his people, and the people are very loyal to him in return. And so they were with him in the State House and all the way through for, I guess, the 10 years he was there, then as a U.S. Senator and everything, and now in the State Department where he's at now. And so, I think, Tammy Bruce was not the best fit for the Rubio team because her political philosophy is, a lot different than on foreign policy than his is. And so, one thing I think the article I was reading about said Trump is learning very quickly now, very early in his administration, how to make the fixes quick instead of letting them fester like he did in the previous term where there's no experience with managing the conflicts that happen inside the team. So now he's moving people very quickly and finding out what doesn't work and what does work. And it's going to be a lot much more mature approach at it.
The thing that I get about Trump, though, is that even if he doesn't solve this Russia-Ukraine thing, although I think ultimately he will, but even if he doesn't, he's already done more than the last two presidents did to try to stop it.
Yeah, I think the last person to meet with Putin in person was Bush. Obama never met with him.
Nope.
Biden never met with him. Neither one of them asked him to draw down his weapons. Neither one of them asked him to stop shooting. Neither one of them asked to meet with him. Neither one of them wanted to negotiate anything.
No, they just buy into this stupid crazy Ivan thing and pretend like the Russians are not crazy. What the Russians are experts at negotiating from a weakened position.
Exactly.
And making their weakened position look deadly.
Exactly. Putin is very good at manipulating. That's what the KGB teaches you. That's what all those intel schools teach you.
That's what you have to do. When you don't have the weapons and the resources that your opponent does, you have to come up with creative ways to do it. And if buffaloing those people into the American people into thinking you're so whacked out that you'll kill them if you don't get your way, that's a valid tactic.
Exactly.
It works. It's worked for them for decades. Why would it change?
Back when he was a KGB director, the presidents at the time were who was it? It was before Gorbachev. It was Khrushchev and Brzezinski or something like that. Or anyway, the Russian guys from the 70s and 80s.
Well, Brezhnev. Brezhnev is, I think, who you're thinking
Yeah,
about.
Brezhnev, something about it.
But Reagan was not what Reagan did, because that was he called on Gorbachev to tear down this wall.
Right. But people don't realize that the Putin was like the right-hand guy to Yeltsin. And that's when Boris Yeltsin, and he was trying to be his like political advisor and everything else. And so once Yeltsin stepped down, Putin and Medved have been flipping out seats. Medved, for people who don't know, is the president of Russia. And then there's a secretary general or something. Then they flip it out or they switch around to where they both have unlimited terms almost basically.
Well, I mean, there's basically three guys that are swapping seats around there, and that's Medvedev, Putin, and Lavrov.
Right. And so just all three of them just like all just changing it around, changing it around.
But at the end of the day, Putin's the one calling all the shots.
But yeah, Putin's the oligarch calling all the shots. So they're crazy there.
It's crazy.
But yeah.
So, all right. So what else we got?
Well, I think besides all the gerrymandering, we got a lot of stuff here in Florida here to talk about. For anybody who cares about Florida news, we have we have a very busy governor's race here going on. Guess the last poll here has Mrs. DeSantis ahead of Byron Donalds.
Casey
DeSantis, yes.
I think she's kind of like that Mandami in New York.
Yeah.
He's ahead right now too, and once I firmly believe the only reason that Mandami's ahead is because the New York voters don't like either of the two options. I guess they're tired of Eric Adams, but they also, are very tired of Cuomo. So they don't really. They're just looking for some new blood, and if they'll get some new blood over there, that's not a lunatic, then then I mean, and the closer we get to the race, I think the more reality is going to be put. Mandami has, unfortunately, a record for those guys. It is not going to play.
No, it's not going to be good for New York at all if he were to win. It would be very, very bad for the city.
Yeah, and Casey DeSantis, Florida voters are going to realize that too. I mean, Casey, she doesn't have the relationship with voters that she needs to have. She doesn't have the record of achievement that she needs to have for Florida voters. So, I mean, the closer we get, the more likely that campaign is to implode.
Exactly.
At least, Byron Donalds has an actual record of accomplishment.
Well, he does. I mean, he was in the Florida House before he became a congressman and everything, so he has a very big track record here throughout the state of doing a lot of work here in Tallahassee and in D.C. both on behalf of the people that he represents. He's done a really good job and everything with that. So everybody's very happy with him.
And look, I'm not knocking Casey. I'm just saying that she's not the one with the resume we need. I mean, we don't need a proxy for her husband, and that's exactly what this is going to turn out to be.
It would be exactly just kind of like George Wallace and his wife, who actually did win that race in Alabama.
But I think he may be the only one.
Yeah. I think DeSantis is trying to be the next Wallace.
Yep. I mean, there are more. There's more than one politician who has won, or I should just come out and say wife, that has won their spouse's seat because they died in office, or if there was some tragedy involved in it in some way. Mark Kelly is an example of that, of a husband that did that sort of thing because his wife Gabrielle Giffords, was shot in the head, and he was able to take up her seat and win.
Yeah, the Bono. I mean, Sonny Bono, I think his wife, same way, right?
I don't remember her, but
yeah, I think she turned in after he died in a skiing accident. She took over his seat and everything in Congress. Same thing with the Doles. I mean, Bob Dole, Elizabeth Dole.
Yeah, but I mean, they're extremely unusual.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very much.
I just don't see Casey having. I don't see DeSantis being popular enough to carry Casey.
Yeah, like in McCaskill in Missouri.
Claire McCaskill, yeah.
Claire McCaskill, she inherited from her husband and everything, but she ran. And she actually was a pretty moderate Democrat. She actually did pretty good.
I remember something different about Claire McCaskill.
Right, well, She's a regular talking head at MSNBC now. So there is that. Then again, not all the people at MSNBC are crazy. And I mean, we got a friend, Cedric Alexander, who's actually now running for Congress against, in congressional seat 1, against Petronas, by Jimmy Petronas. So Cedric Alexander is running against him currently. He's a talking head on MSNBC for criminal issues. He's a longtime criminal law enforcement guy, and he has a lot of consulting business here and advice and everything else on the criminal justice side. And so that's more or less his big angle, is that area.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, and actually, I was right about the Missouri thing. So Claire McCaskill, it wasn't Claire's husband that died. It was Mel Carnahan, whose widow, Jean Carnahan, raised posthumously.
And Claire McCaskill beat him.
Claire McCaskill was what was she? The estate auditor.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incorrect. Cool. Well, it's going to be very interesting here in Florida politics if that happens. I mean, between the redistricting here in Florida, and the interesting part would be DeSantis would be in the middle of all of that. DeSantis, the husband, Ron, not Casey. And so he'd be in the middle of all this redistricting, and so he'd be at the center of all of it. And so that's the whole power play, in my opinion, of him shifting that power just over to her.
I desperately hope that she doesn't win. I don't think she's going to, but I desperately hope that she doesn't, because, it's there's a reason we have term limits, and figuring out creative ways to flaunt those things, to circumvent those, is not what Florida's historically been about.
It's just marriage.
I don't care if they're married. She's a proxy. She's clearly a proxy, and there's no doubt about it. And that's, figuring out ways to circumvent the law is not the hallmark of integrity leadership.
But in her defense, anybody should have the right to run.
I'm not criticizing her right to run or even her decision to run. It's just her viability, because I know for a fact that she's not. This is just setting her up as a proxy. I mean, she'll give a bunch of speeches. She's an educated woman. I mean, she's not stupid, but she still hasn't earned it either.
Right. And what anybody knows about DeSantis' circle, she kind of controls that circle.
I don't care.
So,
so she's a good executive secretary. Good for her.
That's not exactly what I was saying, but that's close.
It's the substance of it. I don't look, and I don't care if she's the reincarnation of Susie Trump's
Susie Wiles.
Wow, Susie Wiles. I mean, who actually would be, I mean, not a great choice, but a better choice. And I'm not advocating for her, but I'm just saying that you want to get to the top executive position, you better you need to have been an executive somewhere else,
right?
Or at least been a government, an elected position where you've kind of walked your way up the ladder. Just sailing in on your husband's coattails doesn't really scream competency.
Yeah, I can see that. It's going to be interesting. Florida politics is never boring. We have several things with other voter fraud that we've been finding around, not just Alachua County, but now there's some other counties here where I guess they had different lines for different parties. So like Democrats saying this line, Republicans go this line. And it's both parties. I mean, I think people don't realize that most of this corruption comes out of cronyism. People want to control their contracts. Those bosses, the good old boys, a lot of them are friends of ours, but a lot of them, they want to control the ballot box because that's how they keep their contracts being revolving. And
exactly.
they want to do that. I mean, the money talks. I was talking to somebody today. He was saying, do you think it's possible that a postman will actually be bribed to deliver the mail into a trash can because he is a special election? And that's where he heard that happen. I'm like, all the time. I mean, in Escambia County, Santa Rosa County, Alachua County, Leon County, You go ahead and pick a county, and I will find at least one postman that got followed to a gas station, most likely given an envelope to go ahead and ditch all of the cards that look just like this one here and toss them in a dumpster. And you'll find a dumpster probably in that county that's filled with 5,000 or 10,000 direct mail pieces that never ever got delivered, or ballots, or because they don't know how they voted, but they do know the addresses they picked them up from.
Yeah.
Because they pick up the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody who's astute enough, has paid enough, will figure it out.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is like you're saying, that the most of the corruption actually springs from the county level, and the state and federal elections are just beneficiaries of that. That's
Right.
why it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. The corruption starts at the county level because of all politics being local. Those guys want to control who the award of contracts, and when they do it through they do it so often during the county level that by the time someone works their way up to the state level, they're ready. They're already ready
They
to
control that
continue with
person.
the program.
Exactly. Hey, you know where we're at? Where's our better? Where's our bread?
Mm-hmm.
How are we
Yep.
going to butter that bread?
Exactly.
And so, I mean, it's kind of like we've seen actually candidates who actually went from the county level to the state level. They had to carry everybody with them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no next election for them if they didn't carry the water with them.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire bucket of all the favors and everything else they owed. And that goes on up to Tallahassee or Montgomery or whatever state you're in, all the way to the federal side. So, I mean, politics at the end of the day, people don't realize there's so much payback. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason why you get the government you get, because, I think you and I talked before about they only really care about 30% of what we actually care about whenever they make policy decisions.
Yeah, only 30% of the time
Yeah, only
do
30%
the
of the
laws
time.
that are enacted follow the desires of the people of the particular district that they're in.
70% they don't.
So, all right,
Well,
well,
that's about it for today, I think.
yeah,
Well,
I think that's
thank you
all the
guys
news
for
is fit.
subscribing to us.
That's all the horses that are worth beating to death.
Well, we got some more horses we'll beat up next week. But I want to
Indeed.
thank everybody for subscribing to us. We picked up 40 subscribers and 10 bots at YouTube this week. And we really appreciate you guys for doing that and sharing us. I mean, we really do appreciate that. Our Twitter feed is starting to pick up a lot more. Our Facebook feed is starting to pick up now. And we really appreciate all you guys sharing us. I mean, there are not very many conservative podcasts out there that are not controlled by the conglomerates or the big guys. So we do appreciate that.
Well, I don't want to, I'm not going to name any names, but there are some platforms out there that marginalize us simply because they say we're spreading fake news. Well, check out anything we say. Don't check in your heart and your gut. Go check it out online at reliable, objective sources, and frankly, contact us. Give us some comments and
us.
stuff. We'll fill this stuff right up.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and give you where the devil in the details are off script, because we still want to live. And so, because there are some dangerous people out there. There's some crazy people out there in politics, believe me. In fact, I think we talked about being debanked and everything. Did we even bring that up yet? About some people we know that were just saying things, and actually one of our accounts got debanked because I think we were ruffling too many feathers here with this project or a different project where we're trying to get a trophy back for a 1984 Florida Gator team. And we're basically, in order to do that, we have to expose the devil in the details of exactly what happened. I think some people don't want that to be exposed. Who knows? Maybe I'm being
Considering that
paranoid.
considering that some of the people directly involved with this and signing their name to this conspiracy were actually elected officials.
Same kind of people that we're talking about that might be possibly corrupt. We don't know. But we might be just overly paranoid. We have no idea. But go ahead and check out that
website. Doesn't mean
website.
they're not out to get you.
But that website, if you want to check it out, well, actually, you should run the commercial here at the end. It's gr84.org. It's our nonprofit that we're working with to basically get the trophy back from that was lost actually by a lot of political damage. and political chicanery that happened to do it. And we've interviewed people like Steve Spurrier, Coach Galen Hall, Ricky Natillo, Kerwin Bell, Billy, bleh, cut that part out. Anyway, and a few other people here. Billy Henson, who's part of the Great Wall of Florida back in '84. So basically, what happened was there were some itty bitty small violations, very small violations,
Contrived violations.
Contrived violations, to where they actually maximized all the way up to almost $1,000 worth in financial chicaneries, which, and nowadays numbers is like how much they spend an hour on NIL. And so basically, they were able to, take the trophy away for something that was really more of a witch hunt. And in fact, I think today Auburn got a lot of their trophies reinstated today. The University of Auburn, they got their 2004 trophy, 1910 trophy. Actually, got 4 trophies altogether reinstated today by the NCAA and the SEC. And so, I mean, it is possible to be done, but, we're telling the story. We're doing a documentary on it to let people know exactly, how to have it done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think we're ruffling some feathers between this and that. Let's just keep on wrestling, baby.
They'll get over it.
They will get over it. But you guys have a wonderful week, and so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Has been so far.
Stay tuned.
Thank y'all for joining us, and come back again and see us on the Political Matrix News.